this really should have been the final, I think. These were the best two teams in it.
We don't like on Tactics Exposed to say I told you so, but Dean...
I did. I told you.
Another trophyless season for Arsenal Football Club as they went down fighting away at PSG in the Champions League semi-finals second leg. A 2-1 defeat on the night, a 3-1 defeat on aggregate after that first leg defeat at the Emirates. They were brave, they went at it early on, but it just wasn't to be. I'm Will Pugh and we're back in the Tactics Exposed studio. And of course, joining me as ever is Sun Sports tactical guru, Dean Scoggins. Dean, wonderful to see you again. Arsenal went hammer and tongs early on, and to be fair, for most of the game in France, but just not quite enough.
Yeah, they were a bit unlucky, to be honest. I'm not going to be too popular with the non-Arsenal fans here and say I've never quite felt as confident that Arsenal were going to do it and get across the line. You know, obviously disappointment again this season, but the whole trust the process thing that they get beaten over the head with. But I actually feel like they're pretty close now.
Quite agree, Dino. The Arteta in-out debate will rage on.
He's not going anywhere.
He's not going anywhere, but some of the fans want him to. But that is for another day and another show. Here on Tactics Exposed, you, as always, Dean, have got 5 tactical points that fans may or may not have noticed from the game. And because we listen to the comments, some of them are a bit more Arsenal positive this time than they were after the first leg, when it's fair to say we got some pelters.
Yeah, we did get pelters, or I did anyway. You know, you just do your job very well and sit there and laugh at what I get criticism for. But yeah, look, we did. But I would like to say that I think over the 2 legs, I think we called it fairly well, and you know, it could have gone either way in the second leg, and really the first 20 minutes of each game were the difference between winning and losing. Yeah. You know, PSG dominate at the Emirates and score. Arsenal dominate that first 15 minutes at the Parc des Princes and don't score. So
what are your 5 points then, mate?
So yeah, point 1 is bang on that, really. Striker light. We know the problem. It's not going to be a shock to Arsenal fans to be talking about a striker, but there's real proof in this game that with a proper number 9, they probably would have got to the final. Number 2, though, tactically, very good from Arteta. Brave art. He was brave, the way he set them up, and particularly something he did with Jurriën Timber. Number 3 is, well, incredible Donnarumma. You know, Arsenal didn't do a great deal wrong with a couple of chances they made, and when you hit a goalkeeper like that. But then there was also this thing from Fabian Ruiz. Now, what a player he is. We didn't talk about him enough in the preview show, but his goal, there was this clever little piece of movement that you might not have seen. And then number 5, I did get slammed in the comments for how much I love Hakimi. I'm not going to apologise for that. After that performance, I do love him. He's my favourite player.
There you go. Dina, I'm really looking forward to doing number 3 about Donnarumma, because I do think, as much as we're going to analyse Arsenal, their play on the pitch, ultimately you come up against a slightly less strong or less amazing goalkeeper in Donnarumma. I think they're in the final. But number 1, striker light, Dino, it's the age-old debate, it seems, at modern-day Arsenal, Arteta's Arsenal in particular. All that money spent on Declan Rice, £105 million, thank you very much, said West Ham United, in order to push them on to the next level, when fans of all other clubs and many at Arsenal going, why aren't we buying a number 9?
Yeah, enough now. It's enough. Like, can't play Kai Havertz there anymore. I'm not talking about just putting Kai Havertz into this position. Maybe he would have made a difference in this game, but never mind. Not Marino, not Trossard, certainly not Martinelli. We'll come back to him. But yeah, they've got to buy someone. And the proof was really in the pudding, OK? They had a couple of good chances, right? We'll come back to those Donnarumma saves. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about in open play situations where you've created the chance that your tactics enable you to do, OK? So we'll come back to the braveness of the tactics, but there was one occasion where Arsenal win it back high up the pitch. They're flooding towards the area. Yep. And Mikel Merino, inexplicably, now I know he's not a striker, so we'll cut him some slack, but he runs off to the left instead of going into the number 9 position and running into that channel. And then when the cross comes in, there's nobody there. And, you know, that's just a prime example. I reckon I saw 6, 7, maybe even 8 occasions across the first hour of the game where there was this ability to cross the ball and put the ball across the face of the area, and there's nobody in that number 9 position. The second one was Declan Rice. Now, not going to criticise Declan Rice for getting in the area. He is working like a Trojan, going up and down the pitch. He gets in the area. But obviously his instinct at that point is then not to go into the striker area. A good striker would peel off to the back post, and as Saka's about to cross it from that front post position, he would then dart across the front post to try and sweep in the finish.
Yep.
Declan Rice goes to the front and then goes to the back. Again, I'm not criticising Declan Rice. He's got in the area to try and fill the gap. But if that's a number 9, if they've got a striker in that position, there was 2 occasions there where at the very least they make Donnarumma make another save and they probably score. And then there was this thing with the long throws, look, throw a party. It was Thomas Partey throwing the ball in there. But the first one worked out all right, where Martinelli got on the end of it. But then PSG sort of defend it well. And because there's no striker instinct, where's the ball going to drop? Where's it going to come from the second ball? There's no natural goal scorer in there. They don't get any joy.
No, absolutely. It was really interesting with the Merino one you're talking about, of Merino sort of running in totally the wrong direction, which is what you're talking about, where he should be driving into the box towards the front post. It was almost the same as what we did on the first leg, but the other way, when in defensively, he also ran in totally the wrong direction, when he should have either been going out with Timber to shut down Kvaratskhelia, I think it was.
And in the Ousmane Dembele goal, exactly.
Exactly, and then left Declan Rice in that weird position. He's doing the same thing at the other end of the pitch.
Yeah, and the number of times that you hear managers say the game was won and lost in the penalty areas, and that's it's cliche, but it's true, and this is the difference. And in that occasion you're talking about with Merino there, in the preview show I talked about how Arsenal are going to have to combat those diamonds that PSG create out wide, and Arsenal did that really well. And on that occasion, that's when you get Bukayo Saka running the other way, and they got Mendes booked, so he had a bit of a problem defensively. I say got him booked, he got himself booked, but but they had him a problem going the other way.
Saka had him on toast, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, and Saka was his excellent self running at that area at the edge of the box. But from a PSG defensive point of view, we'll show how many clearances they made. And it was almost like we know that if we allow them the ball in particular areas, you cannot cover every blade of grass, right? As much as Declan Rice tries to, as a team, you can't cover every blade of grass. So you have to concede in some areas. And what PSG did very, very well after a very difficult 10 or 15 minutes was concede possession in different areas and say they ain't got a striker. We're going to clear the ball from the middle of the area, and it was. We'll show the graphic, and it's massive. More clearances from PSG than it was from Arsenal. They were from crosses, they were from corners, they were from throw-ins, and it was about the only real thing that Arsenal didn't do well enough was get into that striker position, but they ain't got one.
Yep. So number 1 priority for Mikel Arteta.
Only priority, if you ask me. I mean, keep Saliba, obviously, away from Real Madrid, and he was excellent again. And then, if they add a striker and they keep that rest of that group together, then look, why not? And why not go all the way? Yeah,
they've come close enough times now, haven't they? Right, number 2, Dino, brave art. Mikel Arteta. The very last question I posed to you on Team Talk when we were previewing the show last week was, what do we do then, Dino? Does Mikel Arteta go gung-ho early doors and try and get that goal they need back straight away, or does he go cagey and then try and go for it later? Well, he answered that question within seconds, didn't he? In France, the first 10 minutes were absolutely non-stop, relentless from Arsenal. Were you surprised by that, or what did you like?
No, I was. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was excellent to watch, and they deserved a goal at the beginning, and they didn't get it. For reasons we've just talked about as well. But also, it wasn't just about, look, they were front foot, they pressed high, they were really aggressive in the tackle, but it wasn't just that was brave. It was, as I said, he had in the preview show, as you mentioned, he had kind of 2 options. It was sit and in the mid block and then counter in that middle space, try and nick the ball in that middle space, or it's push right on that front 3 and put Nuno Mendes under pressure with Saka. And that's what they did. Yep. So it was really interesting what he did with Jurrien Timber. Jurrien Timber played look, he's done this earlier in the season with Calafiori, so it's not. I'm not saying that Arteta's copied another manager. He has done it before, but people would recognise it more from what Pep Guardiola's done with Guardiola, with what Ange Postecoglou does with Pedro Porro on the other side. And it's almost like your right back plays as your number 10. I mean, fair play to Nuno Mendes in this game. He was the only fullback playing fullback, because Miles Lewis-Skelly's playing centre mid. You've got Jurriën Timber playing as the right 10. It was, and obviously Hakimi's just everywhere. It was really brave, and we'll show a couple of examples of it where even when they've got the ball as a defence, Odegaard may have dropped deeper. Saliba sort of shuffles across into a right-back position or a right centre-back position. Thomas Partey, obviously, as we said, was vital to this in dropping back almost into a back three, which meant Timber and Saka could create this problem where they were switching positions from right wing to inside right and giving PSG this real issue where they know that they slot into a back three with Nuno Mendes along in the back three and Hakimi goes forward. But then what do Vitinha and Ruiz do? Do they sit with Timber, which then means that they're out of shape from their counter-attacking shape that they want to do? Or do they allow him that space? And Arsenal played it really well. 3 or 4 times on that right, Timber got in these spaces. There was one where Saliba charged out of defence and fired it into what I was expecting it to be a striker, and it was Timber in the last line of defence, and then he joined in Saka. So it was very, very brave what Arteta did with the right-back position, considering that you've got Kvaratskhelia going the other way. But what actually, if you were listening to the commentary, certainly the English commentary I was listening to, they kept praising Kvaratskhelia for the amount of defensive work he was doing.
Big time.
And it was because Arteta turned the tables on that. And he went, OK, we're losing in the tie. We have to push Kvaratskhelia the other way. The best form of defence in that position is attack. And they really went for it. And look, they got caught out once where Kvaratskhelia hit the post and there was a couple of times where PSG, counter-attacked. But that's going to happen, especially at the Parc des Princes. So, I was really impressed with how they moved that shape at the back into a back three. It became a 3-4-3 attacking shape with either Saka or Timber in the front three. So it was very brave. They can do it in these big games, Arsenal, and, couple of times this close.
There was lots of chat, wasn't there, about how when their front three at PSG included Messi, Neymar and Mbappe, how the front three just used to watch the rest of the game when PSG didn't have possession.
And you've got to be brave in that sense because you say, well, you're not going to leave Mbappe back there. Kvaratskhelia has had a better Champions League campaign than Kylian Mbappe, certainly since Christmas anyway. And, and so therefore you've got to be brave to leave him there. So, they certainly didn't sit there and watch PSG. So fair play to them.
He's in the top 2 players in that position, Kvaratskhelia, definitely, isn't he? Look, Dina, just quickly before we move on to Donnarumma, which obviously I'm desperate to talk about. Was it the right decision from Arteta to go that brave? Obviously, Fabian Ruiz gets that superb goal. What a goal that was, by the way, until you see that it got a deflection. But still, great technique and a great hit. Against a run of play, that one was, to be fair. And then Hakimi capitalised with Arsenal that little bit more open. Obviously, only they get the consolation afterwards. It looked good and it looked like it was the right decision. Obviously, it's easy to say, no, it wasn't because it didn't pay off. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think Arteta could have done very much more. I think he reacted to what happened in the first leg. Obviously, they had Thomas Partey back, which gives the freedom for Rice and Marino and Odegaard to go forward a bit more. Saka got the ball much more in the positions that he didn't get it, that we highlighted after the first leg. And he pushed a defender on. So, I don't really feel like he could have done a lot more. Yes, PSG had their moments on the counter, but, as I say, it's a Champions League semi-final. And as I think I said before the first leg, this really should have been the final, I think. These were the best 2 teams in it.
Dino, I couldn't agree more, really. But these fine margins we're talking about here, I said it at the top of the show, these fine margins we're talking about, Arsenal actually, I think, done just as much as PSG. And it really was, like you say, PSG get their early goal. They've got that plan early in the first leg. And it pays off almost immediately, within 4 minutes that was, wasn't it? Arsenal was sort of a fingernail from the exact same thing happening in the away leg, would have transformed the dynamic of the
tie. A Donnarumma fingernail.
Exactly. Well, that's what I was going to say. All of those things, it's such fine margins. This one here, not as fine. Incredible Donnarumma. I think he wins the game for PSG in the first leg, hands down.
Yep.
No matter what, if everything else stayed the same and you swap the goalie, Arsenal win that game. And I think, although Ray has made some brilliant saves across both ties as well, I think it's hard to say that without Donnarumma, PSG aren't in the final and Arsenal are.
Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit Roy Keane on you in that goalies are there to make saves. You know, that's their job. Okay, but
play the ball out from the back and distribute.
Yeah. But having said that, we watch. I think you've hit the nail on the head. The other semi-final, the difference between the two teams, where probably Barcelona were the better football team over two legs, Sommer was the difference. Absolutely won the tie. Unbelievable save from Yamal. And then Donnarumma in this, yes, absolutely. Yes, the goalies are there to do that, but the difference is that real high-level one. The save from Odegaard is as good as you'll ever see a goalkeeper make. And I don't think enough has been made of it so far, and they should be playing it on a loop at the PSG training ground because it was absolutely sensational. He doesn't see the ball. He doesn't see it until it's gone through two defenders. Odegaard can't hit it any better. It's going in the corner. It bounces just before it gets to him. Yep. It is absolutely sensational. And the other thing about him, or the main thing about him, is that I think he's almost. I mean, all goalies are slightly mad, aren't they? Yeah. You know, that's sort of a given. Yeah. But it's this. He goes into this little zone where, as someone's about to shoot, it's like he drums his energy, and so his feet dance on the ground, and then he's got this ability to dive at the moment he needs to. The save in the first leg, the save there from Odegaard. I mean, one from from Martinelli from the long throw is sort of a reactionary one, but the one from Odegaard is world class. And again, the difference between a team finishing in the semi-finals and going home, and then him being able to stand there in the final and be talking about winning the thing. And actually, interestingly, I went through the stats, and he's not that high up the save percentage in the Champions League this season. Yeah. He's not made anything like as many saves as some of the other keepers, but that shows the dominance of PSG, and I think then underlines how good a goalkeeper he is, because then when you're called upon, it's the big save, the match-winning save, like the striker at the other end we talk about. When the one chance comes, bang, in it goes. When the one save needs to be made, he makes it. Incredible display. Yeah, we've all played in teams, haven't we, where we just feel so much better because we know if we do leave a little bit of space and it comes down to the keeper, you've got the confidence. Yeah, and as a defender, you're quite right there, because that's a really important thing. We've got a brilliant five-a-side keeper at the moment with the games we play in, and it's not just age, but there are some moments where, as a defender, you can think, I'll let him shoot there because I've got to block the pass. Yeah. And they do this. They think if it's 25, 30 yards out, I'm going to block the through ball because that's more dangerous. And then we know he's going to save it. So the confidence he gives them, absolutely. Totally. Right, we'll move on. Dino, obviously Donnarumma got loads of grief when he left Italy, didn't he? And he would be on a big payday at PSG. But he's the bedrock, one of the most important players in this new look, new era PSG team, which are much more effective than when they had the old Galacticos, Le Galacticos. I don't know what the French for Galacticos is. Yeah, thanks. Right, Ab Fab. Yeah. Fabian Ruiz, superb goal. You're right, we didn't talk about him enough on Team Talk before the game. Amazing for Spain in the summer as well. Going under the radar of a lot of English fans, I think. Yeah, definitely. I mean, another one they brought from Napoli, amazing recruitment again. Yes, as you say, if he was playing in the Premier League, we'd be talking about him in the same breath as Rodri and Declan Rice and all that every week, because he's just a sensational player. The midfield three is amazing as in itself. But I just want to highlight something. His open play, go back and watch the game again and just watch him. That would be a really good thing to do. But I want to highlight something for his goal. So great finish, all right, deflection. I'm not totally sure that the goalie would have saved it anyway. And the touch, the chest away that, sends Martinelli for a hot dog. Unbelievable. Just brilliant, And I think Martinelli had to pay to get back in after that, didn't he? but it's not that I want to show. The little tactic that I want to show is that he is playing for second balls. So much like I said for the striker bit with Arsenal, the instinct of where the ball's going to drop, okay? So he lines up in the line of the Arsenal defence as the free kick's going to be taken. Yep. It was a bad tackle from Declan Rice that gave the free kick away, puts them in a difficult position. Look, Nicolas Hover, the genius set piece guy, where Arsenal keep conceding from set pieces.
I haven't seen him in the dugout.
No, he doesn't
recently.
come out for defensive ones very much, does he? He's very visible when they're about to score a goal at the other end.
Get rid of the mural.
Yeah, absolutely. But basically, I don't think they were deep enough, and we'll show the line. They gave PSG this sort of area to run into, and Raya, was too far away from his defence. So automatically, what's going to happen is, as the defence drops to try and head the ball clear, then in front of them it creates this space.
Yeah.
And Ruiz doesn't go in with everybody else. He goes in the opposite. In fact, he's offside almost, where he was very lucky to time it well to come back, a bit like Marino in the first leg.
Yeah.
And then he comes back right to the edge of the box to wait for the headed or punched clearance from the goalkeeper or a knockdown from one of his players. And then, of course, back comes to him and he does the rest. But it's that genius piece of movement away from the back line. And I talk about it a lot, where players stop, just to create themselves some space. He did more than that. He went back the other way and he played the game against a defence that was moving in the opposite direction. Still got a lot to do after that, but, the rest is history.
Yeah, my partner, who was kind enough to watch the game with me last night, who knows nothing about football, said, "Oh, even I know that's a good goal."
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Deflection.
Yeah. Perfect
or,
analysis. Get her in here.
Exactly, yeah. Right, number 5, Dino, hack attack, Achraf, Hakimi, of course. Now, we don't like on Tactics Exposed to say "I told you so," but Dean...
I did. I told you. Sorry, Arsenal fans. The amount of grief I got in the comments for talking about Hakimi. Look, obviously, like, subscribe, and keep the comments coming. We do enjoy the banter. It is football banter. We love it. But yeah, I did tell everybody how good he was. That everybody said to me, "Oh yeah, but Miles Lewis-Skelly will have him. Our party will sort him out, or somebody else will stop him." Over 2 legs.
You're enjoying this too much.
Oh
mate.
yeah, but not because it's the comments. Just because I just love watching players like him play. I enjoyed like.
I thought it's because you love being right.
Well, there is a bit of that as well. But when I'm right about a player and he puts a performance in like that, I mean, he was everywhere. His touches were all over the place. He plays that right side by himself, which enables the right forward, be that Doué, Barcola or Dembele when he came on. By the way, PSG did this mainly without Dembele as well. It means that they can drift into more dangerous areas and make problems for others, because he just goes, and his game intelligence to go into a position that somebody else has vacated means, again, a bit like the Ruiz goal, he's got that space. So if the ball goes up the right and Doué's running into that right-hand channel, he's not looking at the ball and thinking, "I'm going to go and get the ball off him." He's thinking 2 passes ahead. It's like the snooker player who's thinking 2 shots ahead. Yep. If it goes from Doué into the striker, it's going to get laid off to me. I'm going to run then through. He's the third man run. It's incredibly intelligent. He does it defensively as well. So when the ball goes into a striker, if Arsenal have got one, he's not then running infield to think, "I've got to block that channel." He's thinking, if I go in, it's going to get played over my shoulder. Yep. So he then picks up the winger. He is pacey, he is skillful, and then the energy levels. The second goal, his goal, there's a frame which I think we're going to show that he is almost out of shot when PSG break forward. And again, very similar to the Dembele goal in the first leg, where Kvaratskhelia has got the ball and Arsenal get sucked towards where the ball is. Yep. This happens again, and then Hakimi appears almost out of nowhere, nicks it, and then does the rest with a brilliant finish. This guy's a right back. He's apparently a right back, but he spends as much time in the number 10 striker and winger position as he does at right back. Yes, PSG allowed him to do that tactically, because they said, because of Saka, we'll leave Nuno Mendes as a left back, not really attacking. I think Nuno Mendes crossed the halfway line with the ball running forward once in the whole game, and that meant they played with almost a back 3. And then because he's got Ruiz and Vitinha covering for him, he gets forward that way. Masterclass. I can't wait to see him in the final against Inter. You've got Denzel Dumfries on one right back position and Hakimi on the other. It's going to be a heck of a final.
Exactly, a heck of a final.
There you go. Look at this. Amazing.
Right back when I was playing in the under-11s was nowhere near as fashionable as now. Very, very briefly, Dino, where do Arsenal go from here next season?
Buy a striker. Whether that's Gyökeres or Isak. Go and get another winger as well, maybe Neco Williams if they want to break the bank. And they are this close. They are, a Saka chance over the bar close from being Champions League finalists, possibly winners, and then going and running Liverpool and Man City right against the title again.